It's Jason Abraham, the Shadow Teacher, speaking to you on a beautiful, sunshiny day. And earlier today, I was participating in the practice of remote viewing with a mentor of mine. Now, this video is not specifically going to be about remote viewing, as I am a remedial, at best, remote viewer. I do not claim to be a master. But the practice just brought up some profound understandings and realizations that I would love to share with you. So first, a little bit about remote viewing for those who are interested about what that is but don't know exactly what it is. Remote viewing essentially is the practice, just like the name says, of being able to view an object, being able to sense an object from a remote location. And I, again, I don't consider myself a gifted remote viewer by any means, but just like there are gifted athletes and gifted musicians, people who just come into this world with a profound talent, there are some who are gifted in the psychic realms. But just because you may not consider yourself gifted does not mean that you don't have those abilities and can't develop them. And if you have a genuine practice, then that can bring out those abilities and you will experience that. And I got that experience today. You see, most of us who are attracted to this realm of paranormal, what we're told is paranormal, which is outside the box of what the Illuminati education system has told you exists. You are going into it with the thought that you're going to experiencing something that is mind-blowing right away, that you're going to have this paradigm-shattering experience the first time you go into it. And when you do that, and again, if you're not someone who has the gift that was called not by your own choice to experience these things, then a lot of times you're disappointed. And that was my experience years ago when I first tried remote viewing. I had this huge expectation I was just going to be able to have this clear picture in my mind of something far away, and I didn't come close to it. So years later I said, I know this stuff exists, and I'm just curious about how to build a practice and just dig into these higher level psychic abilities that all of us have. And when I was working with my mentor this morning, again, I was going into it with the attitude that I am novice and that I am remedial. And that thought in some ways molded my experience. But we went into the practice. My mentor, he set aside an object in his room for me to view, and we went on with the practice of me going into the perceptions I was getting, and he would give me leading questions, not giving me any information, but just questions that will pull out perceptions for me. And when we got done with the exercise, he showed me the object. And it was a book. And so my initial perception was, wow, I was just way off, and I have absolutely no inclination of doing this whatsoever. But then he asked me to look closer. And when I looked on what was in the cover of the book, when I zoomed in, I saw much of what my mind was perceiving. So let me go into detail a little bit. I was perceiving a cup, and I was perceiving these very concrete images in my mind. And when I looked at what was on the cover of the book, it wasn't a cup, but the outline of what was there was something that could easily be perceived as the shape of a cup. And I was seeing something that looked like a diagonal line in the background. And my mentor, he's a martial artist, so I was perceiving this object to be a spear. And then when you look at the book, when you actually look at the cover, there is a diagonal line. And so it was a great experience, a great look into how our minds actually work. Our minds, what we perceive as truth, what we perceive as reality, is usually the result of years and years of conditioning, of belief systems, of perceptual distortions. And you could see that with me. There was some truth to the images I was perceiving, but I got fixated on one thing. My mind saw one thing, and then I started to form an association and label that outline, those lines, as being a cup. And my instructor was asking me to zoom in and zoom out of the image. As you get better at the remote viewing practice, you can zoom out and then you can get a different picture of what you're actually seeing. And we can do this all the time with perspective. We can zoom in and zoom out. And then by seeing the image with multiple angles, with multiple perceptions, you come to a greater relation to what that object or what that idea may actually be. But what happens to a lot of us, what happened to me, is I got stuck on one level of perception. I saw the lines that looked like a cup, and then my mind just said, okay, it's a cup. And it just went there. And so, again, what this practice brought up were just so many layers and tendencies of the mind. My mind was filled with doubts. Initially, again, just kind of judging myself as not being that competent at it, I assumed I wasn't going to be able to perceive anything at all. And that was a limiting belief, which was not true. As I actually experienced, I got something out of it. Another limit or another belief that the practice exposed, or a tendency, was the tendency of superimposing an image over the actual image. And you see this with the cup. I was perceiving this, instead of zooming out and seeing the whole book, seeing the whole image of what it was, I was fixated on a piece within that image, and then my mind just associated something else with a similarity to what I was seeing, but wasn't actually what was there. And we do this not just in visual images and perceptions, we do this with our emotional perceptions, our perceptions of other people, our perceptions of ourselves, our perceptions with all kinds of information that is coming into it. We don't always see the actual bit or the thing for what it actually is. We have this superimposed association through our own filters, through our own programs. So this was mind-blowing. Again, this one practice of remote viewing with a skilled and wise mentor brought all this up out of me. And again, I was a ready student. I was practicing, my sun-gazing practice is a practice that when you do it long enough, for years, you are able to observe your tendencies. The ability to observe yourself is one of the great powers that you get, and observe yourself in a more detached, I shouldn't say detached, but just more from it's detachment. It's not being attached to anything there. It's just being able to observe what comes up in your being from a distance. So I encourage you to seek out a practice that is going to bring this out of you and really learn the practice. Really find someone who knows how to teach it, who is going to teach you for the long haul. Again, there's all these fake gurus all over the internet who claim miracles, who claim to be able to teach you to manifest miracles in a few days in a course. And that's bullshit. The real teachers are people who it takes a much longer investment. They may not even invest in you. If they don't think you're actually going to be in it for the long haul, and they don't feel a genuine calling in your heart, then you may not find them. But if you're sincere, then the right teacher will appear for you. And just be patient. Just build that practice of being able to see things as they are, to be able to see yourself and see the world as it is, and the powers that are our birthright, they will start to show up in you. So I've rambled on in this video about the mind through the lens of remote viewing, but it's really just about the mind, its tendencies, its illusions, its programs, and what we're all about. Again, we're all about awakening to potential, awakening to a higher consciousness. And the only way to do that is to have that practice that strips away these illusions, that strips away the deceptions, and then the true spirit, the spirit of the Creator that loves all of us, that's in all of us, it will start to shine through. That's all I got to say. Peace.